guys, what is going on? Matt here, and welcome back to another episode of Cars TV. Of course, you guys already know what we do here on this show, so we're going to jump straight into it and see what's going on the ranked, ladder, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to see what's happening there. So let's go ahead and start with this match. Match is going to be Fresh Dude versus mkennedy. Of course, Fresh looks like he's running some sort of maybe swarm deck. Kennedy, we don't know what exactly he is running, but we see a lumberjack from Fresh, a fear from Kennedy. To start things off very simply, we see another lumberjack in Fresh's hand. He'll go for the hovel instead, opt to get some spawners out and, some rats flowing onto the board. Kennedy responds with a metal, so he's going to be bringing out an acolyte. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So we now know he's working probably with an undead deck, and an interesting combination. You don't really see a lot of druid combinations with undead, so this is certainly a unique one to be sure. We see a blue fire bolt getting rid of the spawner after Fresh summoned a lumberjack to reinforce his presence, so spawner no longer a threat. Fresh responds with a blue fire bolt of his own, of course taking out that acolyte, making sure it does not cause him any sort of trouble or harm. Kennedy responds to the blacksmith. He's just going to opt to get some buffs going on the board, nothing too serious as of now. Fresh counters with a horseman, hoping to maybe snipe off that blacksmith, and he does. So now he's got a bigger presence on the board to be sure, and now he gets to move everything forward. So Kennedy is in a bit of trouble here, but let's see how he takes it. He'll pull out another blacksmith, and then keep that, just on the board, hoping to just maybe get some attack buffs off of it. Fresh responds with a armory, so now his guys are a little bit beefier. We see that 2-2 lumberjack and 4-2 horsemen take a shot at the castle, bringing the game to 20-13. A dragon's fire, though, will clear the board quite favorably in Kennedy's favor. It gives him a chance to reset himself a bit, although that will take all of his gold, so now the board is in the hands of Fresh here. And Fresh brings out a Keeper of the Doorway plus another spawner. So we're definitely rocking that swarm aspect of the deck. We also see Eternal Darkness in his hand, so again, definitely a swarm deck. Kenny's going to have to block with a ranger, nothing too serious, but that will kill off the Keeper of the Doorway if Fresh chooses to attack. He won't. He'll opt to summon out a Wraith instead, and summon a Banshee, of course, to just protect his spawner there. So he is successfully blocking off that ranger, nothing, that he can really do about it. So Kenny opts to throw out a Mordok instead. We do see the Rakanoth in hand. That's going to be very deadly if an undead does happen to stay alive. We see the Keeper of the Doorway and the Wraith kind of weakening the ranger, not actually killing it, but severely weakening it. And then we see another Sea Witch come out. I think the Wraith was from the Keeper of the Doorway. Although we do get another Dragon's Fire, so that clears the board pretty nicely. Mordok's going to hit the Wraith, and then that Horseman takes out the armory, thereby killing the the Wraith. And the Horseman strikes the castle. Blue Fireball to finish off the spawner, and now Kennedy is taking control of this match very, very well. No targets for Rakanoth to, activate on, so he's going to have to summon the Eternal Darkness. Of course, we see all those zombies coming into the board right now. Just to try to block off anything that he can, and then what will Kennedy do? He'll take a shot at the castle and then respond with a Rakanoth, so that's going to be big damage. Of course, taking out every zombie in his path, and thereby opening the board for a Ranger and Rakanoth strike. But Fresh surrendered, knowing that he's already been defeated. So, well-played effort by mkennedy here. Definitely an interesting, unique, undead druid deck, although we don't really know what the druid aspects of that deck were. We can only assume that it might have been some rampage aspects, maybe, but again, we're not super sure. But that is an interesting concept, a warlock druid undead deck. So hope to see more of that on the ladder. But anyway, let's go ahead and take our next match, and I guess bring it forward. I mean, I think that was what I was going to say. Anyway, next match. We're going to bring out the next match. OD. Second match will be Malii taking on TaiTheGuy. We see Malii. I think I've played. I think it's Malii before. I mean, I have played him, so I do know he's running, some sort of bound druid. But I don't know what Tai's running right now. We'll hopefully see later on. We see he threw out the lumberjack while Malii only responded to the Throne of the Emperor. So he is preparing some sort of bounce. Mali's gonna have to counter that with the Salahar Rider, of course, giving him the draw, but getting an additional 2 damage on the castle. So it does bring the health advantage in Mali's favor, just a 1 though, nothing too serious. Tai responds to the Rusty Hooks. Interesting. We don't really see Rusty Hooks a lot. I've been trying to experiment with Rusty, but, it's not that hard to use, but I think a lot of people just think that he's basically weak with that one attack. But we see Tai also taking out the centaur that Malii threw out with the blue fireball. He's starting to pull that castle a little bit forward. Malii has to respond with the Beast Smasher to kind of clear this hook off. He does get 2 bears, which is quite the high roll off of Beast Smasher, so now he can just chill back there. We do have to remember, though, Tai's running Warlock, so 1 burn will certainly finish off that Beastmaster. We see the pillar going down, so it's an interesting concept. I think the whole this deck might be based around pillar explosion on the castle. So we see Malii actually taking that trade, dealing 4 damage, ended up weakening his bear, killing one of the guards. But he does have quite the presence on the board to back up the sacrifice. We see another molten pillar going down. Metal of Bravery, Southward Captain. Okay, so that pillar is going to be meant, I guess, to just block or hopefully get a little pressure off the castle. We see Flux trading with the captain, getting Witch Bolt and Mark of the Fist. Mark of the Fist for the bears, going to push that pillar away, I assume. Yep, very good. Another bear takes a swipe at the castle. The guard hits the pillar, of course exploding, dealing damage to the guard, killing the guard ultimately. And then we see Malii place a Seeded Regrowth Trap to just reinforce the board a little bit further. Tai hits the weaker bear, of course, a 3-1, leaving the 3-6 alone for now. Triggering the Seeded Regrowth Trap, so there goes the Trent. Andrew comes out, plus a Manfish. I assume that Manfish is going to hit the bear. It will, dealing some last will damage. Andrew gets a little power up from it, excuse me. Phantom Strike will kill the bear without harming Andrew, and it goes back to Malii. Although Malii does, I think, have the slight advantage here. Witch Bolt on the Andrew. Of course, Tai gets a card for that, for his trouble. A Vanishing Strike as well, meaning the Trent's going back to Malii's hand. Trent, of course, will he replay it? I'm not sure. He'll play the Flux first and then play the Trent. Okay, not going to play the Trent at all. Kind of interesting. He had enough gold to do it, but maybe he just chose to chill out for now. Tai throwing the Archon on General. Nothing much he can do right now, I imagine, except just kind of block the castle. Panda, though, is going to make quick work of the General, bringing it back to his hand. Flux taking a swipe at the castle. Drawing Battle Cry and Shadow Dance. Shadow Dance is going to be really good for him, seeing that he's got thrown at the Emperor out. And then, of course, he resummons, well, not resummons. He brings out another Trent, different from the Trent that, of course, got the buff. Another General, although this time plus Scope, so he's not going to trigger any sort of Flux combo. Doesn't really trigger a Last Will, though, because there is no Last Will unit on the field. And it goes back to Malii. Malii will vanish the Panda, I assume. Yep. So now the Panda is going to resummon and, of course, rebounce the General, meaning his scope is very truly useless. Trent goes in, swipes the castle to put some more pressure on Tai. And, of course, he resummons the stronger Trent now, so he's looking to end the game right here. Will Tai let him end the game, though? That's the real question. Archon General comes back out. Hits the weaker Trent, of course, no Last Will. Blue Fire bolts the Panda away, and then, of course, he's going to have to... Oh, Defective Flame Cannon on the Beastmaster as well. Of course, meaning that 3 damage to his own castle. So he's really trying to defend, but there's the Panda, although he's opting for an E-Strike finish. So a little cheeky E-Strike to end off the game, and Malii will take this one out from TaiTheGuy. I mean, I guess that kind of works. I mean... Tai's deck was kind of interesting. Of course, we saw the Rusty Hooks and the Molten Pillar in the beginning there. But ultimately, I don't think he had enough pressure to really capitalize on the, the Rusty Hooks and Pillar. He was forced on defensive a lot, and those Pandas being bounced and then thereby bouncing his own General at the end there. Certainly probably what did him in, because, resummoning the General costs a lot of gold, and we really only have 7 or 8 gold. That means all your gold is pretty much going into summoning that one unit. So it's definitely, I could see, it was a tough situation for Tai. But an interesting deck, and hopefully he finds more success with that. It did reach rank 30, as we saw there, by his badge level. So certainly not a deck that I think is bad. It's just, unfortunately, Malii was able to just bounce a lot of... correct units and then ultimately go in for the win there. So well played to both of them as we move on into match number 3. And for our final match, it's going to be ScholarX taking on LOL 212. Of course, Scholar passes his turn 1, and LOL does the same thing as well, so they can't do anything on their, respective first turns, but Scholar responds with a Hassan Sadiq guard. I can tell he's probably using more of an aggro deck based upon his colors. We see Warlock and Viking. LOL responds with an Earth Knight, so I can maybe point out that he's potentially got Knight deck in there. I'm not too sure, but a Blacksmith and ScholarX will mean the Earth Knight will fall to 1 guard, and of course he gets 3 damage off on Lol's castle, bringing the game to 2017. Medal of Bravery from Lol, he'll bring out a White Knight. Of course, that's going to hit the guard, only absorbing 1 life though, thanks to the fact that guard is, weaker. But let's see what Scholar does. He'll blue firebolt the White Knight away, seeing the opportunity to take out a weakened unit. He'll retreat his black a little bit and then thereby push the lumberjack forward. Hoping to get some extra draw here, because judging by his hand, he really can't support his next few turns. A defective flame cannon on the blacksmith, going to bring the game to 2014 now, as a Knight of Flowers comes in to block the lumberjack. A fear will push that Knight of Flowers away though, giving Scholar some additional draw. The Lich comes out, that will freeze off the Knight of Flowers there, and the lumberjack, of course, 1 chip damage, bringing the game to 2013. And the Lich, of course, pushes forward as well, seeing as how the Knight really can't do anything at this current time. Furnace Knight, though, will come out and really push, not even hitting the Lumberjack. He's hoping to maybe catch that Lich in an Inferno play. But a Dragon's Fire will, of course, I think, finish that off. It does freeze the Lumberjack, though, so it is a benefit for Lol. If he hits it with the Knight of Flowers, he won't lose any life from it. He'll take that opportunity, of course, to kill off the Lumberjack. He'll draw, or Scholar will draw Frozen Storm, for his troubles. And then Lol reinforces his board with the stables. Swordsman coming out from Scholar, though, that will be quite a presence to take out. How will Lol respond, though? He'll use Chaotic Storm. He needs 2 to hit on the Swordsman, which it does. Beautiful trade right there. And, of course, Cleric coming out, and now a 2-5, thanks to the fact that Stables provides both an armory and an attack. Scholar is forced to defend with a Pegacorn, and he's going to throw the blacksmith out for just some good measure there. Even though Pegacorn can completely trade with the Cleric at no additional cost. Armory, though, will end up killing, he'll make the trade, though, for some health. But, of course, Pegacorn will get a free shot at the castle. There's 1 strike, of course, bringing the game to 1910. I'm going to throw the Yarm Giant, though, to reinforce his board presence, not throwing the armory down. I think he's planning on threatening these buildings here, seeing the opportunity. Of course, the Salahar Rider will trade with the Pegacorn, dealing 2 damage to castle. Swordsman coming out now as well, and he's going to try and block the best he can to prevent any sort of, chain. I mean, he'll still chain 2, but in this way, he won't chain, twice and kill off the building. So he'll take 2 damage, and then, of course, the freeze, big play there. Make sure the Swordsman can't really attack him. Question Knight comes out, plus a Flame Shield, so that will be enough. He does play it correctly, too, not really positioning it in front of the castle, or else chain would have occurred, and that would have been bad. He does use Incinerator as well to finish it off. Frozen Storm, he's going to discard his Barbarian, of course, to freeze all the units. Lich and Pegacorn both get a trade without dying, thanks to the thanks to Frost, and now they're both working off the draw here. So Scholar definitely, I think, has the advantage, but Lol draws a Dwarf Paladin. That'll freeze off both the Blacksmith and Pegacorn. So yeah, like I said, they're both working off the draw here best they can. Tyrannosaur comes out from Scholar. That will push the Pegacorn forward a bit thanks to the Fear Aura. Blacksmith just hangs up there. Nothing really too big. Lumberjack comes out, trades with the Pegacorn, or at least damage to the Pegacorn. Lol gets a Furnace Knight as well. That Furnace Knight will be positioned lower to avoid any sort of friendly Inferno. Scholar draws a Lumberjack and a Lightning Blade, okay. I think the Tyrannosaur is probably going to push that. Okay, so he's going to push the Furnace Knight back, damaging his own armory, thereby killing himself. That was a smart play. I think Scholar's pretty much got this one in the bag here. But we'll see. There is time to change it. Definitely an Arbiter's Return can come out and change the game at any moment. Guardian comes out. Unfortunately, that's not going to do it. So, of course, it looks like Scholar will take the win on this one. I like that play with the fearing the Furnace Knight back into the buildings, destroying the armory. That's what you gotta know about Inferno decks. The way to counter them is just to freeze and then push them back. That's kind of a way. If you're dealing with Furnace Knight, Primordial Flame, whatever you're dealing with, if you push it back and freeze it, it's gonna be difficult for your opponent to really counter their own cards. So that was a neat play, I thought there. But very well played from both of those competitors. And with that being said, I think we're going to call it an episode here. Bunch of good matches for sure. So guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Cards TV. If you guys did enjoy, please let me know by leaving a like on this video, sharing with your friends, and commenting down below your thoughts on today's matches, or some of the decks that you saw in today's matches. If there were certainly a couple curious decks that I'm kind of interested to see if they go any further on the ladder. I'll be keeping my eye on some of them. And with that being said, I think if you're already down there, making a comment, or if you're not making a comment, regardless, if you are down there, hit that subscribe button. Help show you support the channel. Help us grow by clicking that subscribe button at no additional cost to you. And with that being said, guys, that's all from me from now. So until next time, stay gaming.